overall.
Yes. I mean, listen, that's actually, let's just keep it rolling. Let's use that topic because basically when I watched the first playoff series, the Dig versus EG one yesterday, the match you're talking about, the last game between Cloud9 and Team Liquid, the draft of that game, Monty, if you pull it up, the week 9 game is basically as far as I can tell, it is going to be the playoff meta in LCS. Like, if you look at that game, obviously right afterwards, there was the 100 Thieves Academy played against EG. There was the same draft again, essentially. And then, as I say, in this other series, EG Dignitas, it was basically the same draft from the EG side, at least a couple of times. So as far as I can tell, in NA, there's a draft, the left side one there, where it's something along the lines of, like in this case, it was TF mid, Xin Zhao jungle, it had Camille top, you mainly usually have a carry top, and then something like Aphelios, right? That sort of draft, basically, as far as I can tell, is far and away the strongest in LCS's meta. And whatever the response is, which is whatever they're trying on the right-hand side, has been consistently tried with different options. It just doesn't work at the moment, Monty. And the reason why this is significant to me is because if I look at the two teams that the draft on the left seems most tailor-made to, and they're in fact playing it, it's Cloud9 and EG. Yep. And so actually, as much as people wanted to sort of shit on Cloud9 because they weren't in that great form at the end, this surely gives them actually like a pretty nice sort of advantage in this matchup.
I think it's a huge advantage. I think I think a lot of what we've been seeing, so it's been these kind of global champions like TF or Ryze in mid lane, and you're playing kind of aggressive all-in side lanes or kind of early to mid-game side lanes. So you might see the Aphelios, you might see the Kalista, and these are champions that you can create. Tristana, these are champions you can create some pretty strong early advantages for, and with Cloud9, this is their wheelhouse. Like, Sven is a great Aphelios player. He's a great Kalista player. If you look at Vulcan's champion pool, Vulcan's always been super good at tank engaged supports. Like, you know, we've seen his Alistar, his Braum, his Leona. These are champions he's very comfortable with. Blabber likes playing these early skirmishers, and he can draw out Olaf bans as well against him. So Xin Zhao, Olaf, the champions that you're seeing right now, that play very well in these early to mid games. Diana too, if you want to play like AD mid and tops, because you have that strong engage. Although I do have some questions about Diana, especially in some of the compositions that we're seeing that are more popular with like the Wombo combos with Yasuo, which has been what we've been seeing a lot in multiple regions, which I think are vulnerable late game because of the power of Zhonya's and Stopwatch right now. Really makes it difficult to play, and Guardian Angel really makes it difficult to play those into the late game, because once you kind of blow your load and it's either absorbed by a GA or by a Stopwatch or a Zhonya's, you just get cleaned up in the skirmish that happens afterwards because all your important abilities are on cooldown. So unless you're creating a giant snowball in the early and mid game, it's tough, I think, to reliably win with those compositions. And those were the kind of compositions that like Dignitas was drafting yesterday. So I just don't think that's...
If we hook it into what you were saying just before, isn't part of the issue here as well that basically it's not even just that like these, like, you know, the win condition of the comps that basically have like the mid lane that's going to roam. It's that at the moment, if you do it effectively, like unless you perfectly respond, they're just ahead all that they've got control of the game basically, right? Like we're probably going to see it in this particular game from Cloud9.
If you have early aggressive lanes, it's really difficult if they want to split push to force them into a team fight that you need to win with those compositions, right? Because if they get that advantage, in theory, they're never really going to group. And if you have the advantage and pressure on the side lanes, then you can control when the dragon is taken. And so either you're getting the dragon yourself, or you can kind of force them out of the river in a way where it's going to delay the soul probably pretty significantly. And so there's no need ever to really fight frequently for those objectives. And we talked about this a little bit with Larson on SI, and I agree with his take about TF, which is that the side, so on 11-13, the tier 2 towers, the side lane gold has been increased, the local gold, which definitely helps a lot to justify some of these split pushing champions, because it feels like there's a more meaningful trade-off these days if you want to give up a dragon or another objective, because the champion that's split pushing is going to get more gold funneled into them, and it makes it more reasonable to take those tier 2 turrets. So it's a really good change, I think, that Riot made, because for the first time in a long time, it feels like split pushing compositions are as viable as these team fighting compositions that have dominated kind of the Dragon Soul contest.
The obvious reason as well on the Team Liquid side why they would end up on that end of the draft is like, if you even look at the champions we're talking about, the champions they like to play individually tend to just be more on this side. Like, you can see why they're ended up with the counters. The problem with that is, like, realistically, I find a hard time figuring out how some of these drafts are supposed to win the game. That's why I was saying this to the people, like some of the people from my Discord when I was doing a watch party. I was saying, like, if everyone's doing a draft like this, you can't actually just say that the team that you think did the wrong side of the draft is losing. What that implies is that is all that works in scrims, and everyone's doing it at the moment. And if you don't do draft A, you have to do the draft B. So, like, if we end up with Team Liquid doing the kind of draft you expect, so they might have stuff like Gangplank, Azir, maybe they do the Jace as well. Like, who the fuck knows, right? Do you think, what would their win conditions be in a match like this? Like, what do you have to do to try and shut down Cloud9 at the moment, do you think?
I mean, I think it's really hard because the strength that we've seen from Team Liquid since Alphari and Santorin's return has been playing around Alphari, right? And we know that both from playoffs last time and from the game that they played last week is that Cloud9 is going to be very aggressive around ganking for Alphari. And so Alphari played Jace in their last meeting, and Jace is great if you can get ahead because you can control objectives through poking people out and you have kind of speed for disengage, but he's not really going to be a great answer to the Camille in the side lane that we saw coming out of Fudge. And I just don't I'm curious what they're going to put Alphari on, because last time Cloud9 banned out the Gangplank, which I think you just have to ban if you're Cloud9 every game, because that's a way that Alphari can kind of carry. But I think they have to put Alphari on a split push champion. But if they do that, the question is whether Jensen is also going to try and play into this global meta, which I don't think has ever been Jensen's strength, like Twisted Fate. He's played it, but he's not a noteworthy TF player or a noteworthy Rise player in the scope of his career. And it just feels like they would be trying to play into a style that is not their wheelhouse, but it is kind of definitively Cloud9's wheelhouse right now. And I just don't know what you do about that. Like, I'm curious if there's going to be some surprise picks from Alphari. There's always the possibility that Jensen over the last couple of weeks has kind of reinvigorated himself and gotten things together. He's going to be syncing better with Santorin and better in his own individual play. But I think this matchup is very Cloud9 sided, and it's hard for me to see exactly what Team Liquid can do to win a 5-game series when you assume that not only the bans are going to be targeted at Alphari to put him on less significant champions that he can carry on, but also the game plan is going to be built around shutting down Alphari and just seeing if Team Liquid can win any other way, which I don't think they can right now.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.